Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson in the house. So I'm going to give him a chance to see you now. There you go. So everybody wave. Hello. So Reverend Dr. Ray, he's been here before. He and I have been talking for a while, and he was sort of the impetus for, I would say, Namaste to step into what's possible for spiritual community going forward. Yes, 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 you. Yes. He has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man and a visionary new thought leader, for sure. Because when he steps out and talks, everybody listens because it's something that resonates with who we are inside and who we are as potential and who we are as community. You know, I've seen his resume. He may not know that, but it's quite clear to me that he came here to play big on the planet. His journey has been anything but ordinary, and he's quite a library of stories to tell. And I remember the quote that, by the way, everyone remembers from the last talk. Does anybody want to tell me what that is? There's no spot where God is not. And I have been hearing that ever since you were here. He's a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation. If he gets sort of translated or transfigured in this next hour, it would not be surprising to me. He's a teacher, a minister, an author, a visual artist. He's an ASL performing artist. Some of you might really take beautiful heart to that. There's one in the back of the room at least. He is a father and a grandfather and more. He gives people applicable tools and practices that enable them to live a more fulfilled life, recognizing, realizing, and materializing their full potential. I am so excited to bring back Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson.
Wow. Wow. So, yes, well, hey, Namaste. Greetings once again, and Happy New Year, and Happy New You. And thank you, Reverend Bobby, for the invitation to return. And if you are all ready, like, are you ready? Yes. Are you ready? Okay. So, you know, we're talking about this thing, celebrating life as source. And so if we're really going to do that, we're going to do it effectively. I want us to start off with understanding 3 important things. Number 1, let's start with the idea of, well, what is life? I mean, if we're going to celebrate life, it would if I'm going to eat peach pie, I need to know what peach pie is, right? Like, I need to know what life is if I'm going to celebrate it. And then, well, what does it mean to celebrate? What is a celebration? Wait a minute. Why do we celebrate anything, right? So that's number 2. And then, of course, if we're celebrating life as source, well, what is source? Okay, so it's important that we sort of like have a grounding in what these 3 things are. So because this is already your affirmation, and you just, said it not too long ago, we're going to just go ahead and jump into number 1 and 3 immediately. Life, source. There is only one life, and that life is God. That life is source. That life is perfection itself. And that life is you, and that life is your life right now. Breathe and take all of that in. Because that's right there saying there is no separation between what life is, capital L life, and lowercase l life. In the same way that if I were to say water, H2O, there is the grand scope of what water is. But if I have an individualized glass of water, they're the same thing. It isn't somehow that H2O and H2O are somehow different. It's the same thing. So that which is the infinite, the absolute, the one mind, the one life, what it is as the absolute is exactly the same thing it is as each one of us, living, moving, and having its beingness in this individual expression. Breathe. Because if we're really going to, celebrate this idea, then we really, really, really want to embody what it is we're celebrating. In the same way that I'm sure, and I'm not going to say any names, but you got my mouth watering with the peach pie thing, wink, wink. So there's this, if I'm going to celebrate the opportunity to eat this peach pie, and of course the ice cream with it, if I'm going to celebrate this, then I embody it. I imbibe it. I make it part of myself. I don't just sit there and look at it like, ooh, that's peach pie. That looks rather tasty. And just stare at it. Why would one do that? If you're going to bake it, I'm going to eat it. If we're going to live this thing called life, then why not live it fully? Celebration. Celebration, this idea, it is a verb coming from the etymology that means to assemble in order to honor something. We come together to honor. There is also this etymological idea of it is coming together to sing praise, and it is practiced often. Birthdays, practiced often. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, practiced often. Namaste, Sunday service, practiced often. Meditation, practiced often. Eating peach pie. Oh, sorry. Not as often as I would like, but pretty often, right? It's this idea of how do we enjoy life? How do we sing the praises of life? How do we honor and recognize as an often done practice to commemorate and honor this demonstration of joy and gratitude, to make widely known this praise and glory, to make widely known. So we don't just celebrate in isolation. I mean, there have been times in my life that, having a birthday, I was the only one there. It was not very much fun. I like having people there to laugh and sing and, I don't want to eat the whole cake by myself. I could, but I don't want to eat the whole cake by myself. We do this thing called New Thought in order to transform the world, which means we must make this widely known. We must bring this praise, this joy, this glory, this honor into the world. So today we are asking ourselves, am I a celebrant of life? Am I someone who celebrates this divine expression of life? My individual life, the collective life, the divine life. Do I celebrate it? Now, if you are so willing, I feel like I should play the Mission Impossible song, but we know it's a mission that is possible. If you are willing, I would like us to challenge ourselves, at least in this upcoming week, but we're going to start today by looking a little bit more deeply at this passage that Ernest Holmes gives us in the volume 1 of the extension study course. And he says on page 140, God is all in all. God is our whole being. There is nothing else. Breathe. There is nothing else. There is only God sitting right there in the pew with you. There is only God that is the pew you're sitting on. There is only God that is the saxophone that was being played. There is only God that is the saxophonist. There is only God anywhere, everywhere, all the time, ever present. So those moments when I'm nervous right here. I done broke into a sweat. It's God sweating this divine opportunity to show up in praise and honor of itself. Breathe and recognize there is nothing else. Holmes goes on to say, so close is this union of creation with the Creator. So close is this union with us and as it and all that is. It is impossible to say where one begins and the other leaves off. In the same way that if I take a cup of tea and I pour coffee into it, are you able to clearly differentiate where the coffee begins and where the tea ends? No, they blend as absolute oneness. You blend in through and as the absolute oneness of all that life is. There is no separation. Breathe. We may be familiar with this text called the Judeo-Christian Bible, and there's this passage in Genesis that says the exact same thing that Holmes is saying, but it says it this way. And I'm doing the gender neutral version. God created humankind in its own image. In the image of God, God created them. Each one of us must be made in the image and likeness of that which is love, because love is all there is. Each one of us must be made in the image and likeness of joy, because joy is all there is. Each one of us must be made in the image and likeness of life itself, because that's all there is. So when you look in the mirror and you want to, be upset about that gray hair that's growing, well, sometimes it's in the nose, but wherever it's growing, and you want to be frustrated about wherever it is, whatever it is, there's only God, and that's God growing a gray hair. Those moments when, the musicians are playing and you're clapping, but you realize I'm clapping off beat and you want to criticize yourself. Pause and breathe and recognize this divine rhythm of God. I am a drummer beating my own drum to my own rhythm, and it's still divine. Do not judge. Do not criticize. There is only love, joy, peace, whatever it is that God is, because Holmes reminds us, whatever is true about it is true about you. Does a cat give birth to a cow? If it did, it would be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Does a duck give birth to a shark? No. Follow the rhyme and reason of this. We are created in the very image and likeness of that which is life itself. We are creativity creating. We are harmony harmonizing. So let that sink in for a moment. Because if we're truly going to celebrate life, and I mean truly, then we are really invited to take a deeper embodiment of what this means and then show up and show out as a 21st century New Thought Good Samaritan. Because we do not do this in isolation to be like, I'm doing my practitioner stuff all by myself. I'm singing a song all by myself. Reverend Bobby doesn't say, I'm doing a Sunday message all by myself just because I'm by myself. Like, we do this so that we can be in community. Community does not exist as a body of one. Because if I show up on Sunday in a room and I'm up on the pulpit and I say, good morning, everyone. And then I run down and I sit in the pews like, good morning, Reverend Ray. And then I run back up and say, how's everybody doing? And then I run back down. Somebody would come to take me away. Right? Because they're like, that's not normal. That's not normal. We are meant to do this thing in community, to commune, to communicate, to take communion with love and joy with one another. And that means showing up in the world, to show up when people are grieving, to show up when people are frustrated and fighting, to show up as the very embodiment of all that we know. Like I said, as a 21st century New Thought Good Samaritan, breathe, because that means having a new level of courage, a new level of willingness, a new level of asking, wait a minute, pause. How does this whole idea show up in my life? How does this idea of love, joy, celebration, how does it show? Do I think small of myself? Do I ever think, I'm not good enough to sing. I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough to be a practitioner. I'm not good enough I'm not good enough. I'm not something enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not svelte enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not something enough. I'm not straight enough. I'm not something enough based upon somebody else's standards. Pause and recognize, though, how could I not be enough when all that is all is incarnating itself as me. And we know that because it's all in all, what's true about me is true about you. Where is the space to think small about ourselves? Where is the space to criticize ourselves? Where is the space to judge ourselves? We are invited to a new level of saying both and. Right now, what I am feeling is unskilled, and I know that because I am life itself, incarnating itself as me, and I am a celebrant of it, I am more than capable. This is what I feel, but I am more than capable. Hold the space. Don't just dismiss it. Don't bypass it. Don't malpractice it. Hold it and recognize it is a feeling, but it need not be acknowledged as my truth. Breathe, because there is no room for this idea of self-incrimination, criticism, condemnation. There is no space for that when we are really moving into what it means to celebrate life as source. If I am God, I am an individualized expression of the one. Then what does it mean for me to celebrate myself? What does it mean for me to celebrate all that I am here to be and do and share in the world? What does it mean for me to unapologetically, audaciously shine my light? Regardless of what the naysayers, there are going to be people who are going to criticize. People criticize the Dalai Lama. He's the Dalai Lama. What has he done wrong? Like, it's the Dalai Lama. And people criticize. And so if I embody their criticism, then it becomes a reason I'm not celebrating. Look, listen, when I was a kid, celebrate the birthday. Ooh, I'm 10. Yes, 10 candles. Oh, can't wait till there's 18 of them. Ooh, I'll be an adult. By the time you hit 40, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of... Turn this fire thing's gonna come. Like, we start to think, there's too many candles, too many ages, too many old, too many gray hair, too much, and we turn it down. No, I'm 56. I'm going to celebrate till I'm 356. I'm going to celebrate every morning. I'm going to celebrate every breath. I'm going to celebrate every slice of peach pie. Why? Because I am the divine, living, moving, and having its beingness in, through, and as this. Why would I not celebrate? Now, part of the idea of celebration was there's this daily or not occasional, but always ongoing practice. So let's pause and think about, where do we already do something natural? We brush our teeth. Did you really just say teeth? We brush our teeth, right? We comb our hairs. Since if I'm going to do it with one, I may as well do it with all. We wash our bodies. Anyhow, we do these things as regular daily practices. Why not envelop and incorporate and understand that, wait a minute, if I am life living itself, I am sourcing itself. I am love loving itself. I am breath breathing itself. Then what do I possibly do that is not a spiritual practice when I bring my realization to it? Commuting to and from Namaste is a spiritual practice the moment I recognize that that's what it is. This whole thing with being virtual is a spiritual practice the moment I recognize that that's what it is. You are God, I am God, we are all the divine gathering together. How could this not be, every aspect of it, something to celebrate? Breathe. Because once again, we are invited to step in at a completely new level, because Fannie Lou Hamer reminds us, never forget where we came from and always praise the bridges that carried us over. She is reminding us to celebrate the legacy of people who helped to bring us where we are. People like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebrate, because everything that he gave as legacy is yours now. Elie Wiesel, everything he taught about being a Holocaust survivor is yours now. Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Bell Hooks, Grace Lee Boggs, Harvey Milk, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, and countless others. They are the shoulders that we stand on now. Why would we ever not have reason to celebrate? Why would we not have reason to move out into the world? Why would we not educate ourselves, elucidate ourselves, illuminate ourselves to this idea? There is only one life, and that life is God living, moving, and having its beingness in, through, and as me right now. And because that's what is now mine to do. There's a practitioner in Asheville, Charlie Shepard, who always says, he wants to make a bumper sticker out of it. You're God, now act like it. You are life, now show up as it. It does not matter what we think we don't have. It does not matter what we think we need to learn. We are the all in all, living, moving, and having its beingness right here where we are now. Our intellectual life, our emotional life, our spiritual life, the life of our relationships with others, friends, family, our relationships with nature. Frank Lloyd Wright said, I believe in God, but I spell it nature. What is our relationship with nature? What is our relationship with money? What is our relationship with our own selves? This idea of there is life everywhere we look, everything we touch, everything that we see, there is life and life eternal. This is one reason why, when people make their transition or whatnot, for me, and this is me, I always remind myself first and foremost that there is no death. Life cannot die. We can use the word, but life cannot die. Life moves on. Life changes. So when my mother made her transition, she moved from life into life after life. Whatever that means, that's where she went. She's not lost. She's not gone. The all that all is always right here, right now. Breathe. This is another reason why when, and the doctor was, concerned, like he thought I was ignoring him, because in December I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And the doctor was like, and I was like, okay, I hear you. And he's like, okay, you're not responding the way, did you shut down? No, I hear you. And yet, right? There's that, and yet I am anchored to this teaching. And this teaching says, yes, there can be fear. Yes, there can be anxiety. Yes, there can be that. And yet I am a celebrant of life. I am not going to celebrate what you think I should be afraid of. I am not going to celebrate what you think I should be worried about. I celebrate life. And life is God. Life is source. Life is here right now. And in celebrating this right here and celebrating this right now, we come back to Fannie Lou Hamer, who said, nobody's free until everybody's free. As a 21st century new thought, Good Samaritan, what is mine to do to ensure that there are others who are liberated, emancipated, who are set free from the bondage and the confines of racism, sexism, homophobia, etc., who are set free from the confines and the bindings of gun violence and mass shootings? What is mine to do? I cannot celebrate alone and truly celebrate. I must celebrate in community. And where anyone in my community is, quote unquote, suffering, they're unable to fully understand and grasp what we know, then it is my invitation to move into that, my invitation to support them. So how do we breathe? How do we breathe? How do we step into a new level of celebrating life? How do we step into a new level of embodying life? How do we truly recognize how beautiful we are, how powerful we are, how enlightened we are? Because the moment we do, amazing things happen. Amazing things like what? A world that works for all. Breathe and embody and celebrate you. And so it is. Much love.
Breathe. I love that reminder. Absolutely amazing, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, and we are so grateful you shared your time with us and gave us such a powerful message, right? So grateful for what you do. I was thinking about what you were saying, and a Science of Mind quote that I've been playing with for a month, which is, nature will not let us stay in any one place too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. We get to choose. But if we don't choose, nature will choose for us, just to help us along, and you seem like part of that. So thank you so much for all you do. Grateful.